Welcome back to the Stratifyx tutorial video series. In this video, we'll go over to how to use the layer libraries and layers to explore our map. Let's start by coming over to the right side of our screen and left-clicking the layer library icon to open our layer libraries. Over to the left side of the layer library menu, you'll see our functional groups. This is where different data layers are organized. We can also use the search layers box to search for layers. Let's do a quick search. We can left click the box. As you can see, I've already had some searches done and you can explore those if you wish. Let's search the floodplain to take a quick look at an example. As you'll see, multiple data layers appear and they're organized by their functional data layer group. Let's come down to our flood hazard zones and take a look at that data layer. We can also explore metadata by left-clicking the Show More Info. Something to keep in mind, these data layers are maintained and constantly updated. So we can close that menu. You also see that we can hover over our legend and we can preview what that legend is going to look like. So for the flood hazard zones, we see multiple attributes on the legend. And for the riparian areas, we just see one attribute for that legend, as it only just shows those areas. If we want to add a layer to our map, we can left click the plus button. Now it's added to our map and it'll appear in our layers. Let's go ahead and click this X in the search layers box, and that'll get rid of our floodplain search. And now I'll return to the default layer library menu. Let's add one more layer, for example the building footprints, again by left clicking. And as you'll see, when we left click the plus button and add it to our map, the minus button then appears. And that's how we would take it away from our map if we'd like to in this menu. And we'll go over other ways to remove layers from our map as well. But for now, let's keep it on our map. Let's left click the X of the layer library to close that menu. And now, returning to the right side of our screen, we can left click our layers and see that our building footprints and flood hazard zones are now on our map. To take a closer look at these layers, let's search for a place. And you can return to our previous videos if you need a refresher on this. Let's look in the Fort Collins area. As we know, there's a river there, and then I'll give us a quick example for how to use these layers. And as we can see, the flood prone areas appear, and if we zoom in a bit closer to the river, we can see that some of our building footprints are in flood prone areas. Further, we can left click on our map to get more information about those data layers. So we'll left click an area where there's a building footprint and there's overlap with a flood prone area. And over to the left side of our screen, we'll see information about those data layers pop up. And we can hit the drop down arrow and see information about our flood hazard zones, or hit the drop down arrow for building footprints and see information about the building footprints. We can left click the X to close that. And coming back over to the right side of our screen, we have our layers menu. And again, you'll see the legend there as we previewed earlier. You also see the sliding bar that allows us to toggle the opacity of what we're seeing on our layers. So perhaps we want to toggle our flood hazard zones because we don't want to look at that. So we just slide it over to the left and it disappears. We can slide a little bit more and it gradually reappears. We can also, if we'd like, instead of doing that, left click the checkbox and it turns off the layer completely. Left clicking again, it reappears. We can also toggle how those layers appear on our map by left clicking the 6 dots, holding and dragging below another layer, and now that switches the stratification of those layers. If we want to remove a layer, as shown a little bit earlier, we can do it in the layer library menu, or we can do it from our layers menu by left clicking the X. In the next video, we'll take a deeper dive into how to explore our map, use layers to create a parcel search. Thanks for joining us.